Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is the use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Hello, everyone that's here. Please come in and say hello. Matthew 18, verse 10 Take heed that you despise not one of these little ones, or saying to you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. Matthew 18, verse 6. I really like this part, which says, But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in depth of the sea. Hello, Chris. Hello, Lan. Oh, how you doing there, Landro? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Hi there, Chris. I got the information and I saved it to my email so I could go over them and maybe do another story with that too. I appreciate you giving me the input and information. How's everyone doing today? I want to know that y'all to know that this is going to be a lengthy discussion. John David Norman, pedophile, child molester, pornography, sex trafficker. Without further ado, let me share my screen because I don't just talk about it, I share the proof behind what I'm saying. Okay, so far, Chris? Well, that's good. Thank you so much for coming and the input. I'm coming back and forth. Hello, Eric. I'll come back and forth and say hello after each little article or something. I will see what people have to say and I'll respond to y'all. This is the perpetrator right here, John Norman, right here. He was born October 13th, 1927 in Oklahoma. He died May 22nd, 2011. He had, right there it's got some of his other names, but he had 20 different aliases, as we'll find out. Other names, John Paul Norman, Stephen Gurwell, Alan Hitchcock, Charles Caldwell, Clarence McKay, and Patrick Nelson. So John David Norman, he was an American pedophile and sex offender convicted numerous times between 60 and 98 on charges of child molestation and child pornography. Throughout his life, Norman operated various direct mail-in services dedicated to distributing child pornography and arranging sex trafficking. Among these operations were the Odyssey Foundation based in Dallas, Texas, the Delta Project, Creative Corpse, and MC Publications of Chicago, and Handy Andy from Pennsylvania. Norman is known for his alleged links to serial killers Dean Corll and John Wayne Gacy. Hello, Seagull. Nice to see you. Hello, Jack Prepper. Hello, Charbatty. Good to see y'all. Thank y'all so much for coming in. Hi, Lady O. The latter by a Norman's associate right here. Sorry, when I tried to highlight it, I did that yesterday too. So it's the latter by a Norman's associate, Philip Paskey. We'll find out that Paskey also worked for John Wayne Gacy. This Philip Paskey was a roommate of Norman's. Norman used to at least 20 aliases in his life. At least, it says, see? Included John Paul Norman, Steve Gurwell, Alan Hitchcock, Charles Caldwell, Clarence McKay, and Patrick Nelson. He was eventually arrested for the last time in August of 1987 in Illinois and spent the rest of his life in state custody. He died in 2011 at age 83. Well, we'll see more about that part right here. There's a lot of information in here. And sometimes it might be redoing something because there's a lot of different articles. Norman was born October 13th. We don't care that much about it. We're going to skip over that, where he was working as a radio engineer for the station KTRH and was planning on attending Northwestern University. In 1999, Norman was declared a sexually violent predator by the state of California and committed to Atascadero State Hospital. His psychiatrist, Dr. James Rivas, said about Norman, John is an unrepentant adult male sex offender who, in my opinion, will go to his grave without any remorse for what he has done. Norman was released from a Atascadero in October 2008 under strict conditions, but soon returned to custody after handing a sexually suggestive note to a 19-year-old male clerk at an El Centro grocery store. Norman was recommitted to Coalingo State Hospital in March 2009, where he died 2 years later. Here are his early crimes. This guy is one sicko. Norman's criminal record dates back to the 50s, when he was twice arrested for sexual assault in Houston in 1954 and 1956, though it's unknown if he was convicted of any crime in these cases. Court records and some news reports indicated he was first convicted of sex crimes in 1960. Norman was convicted of sexual assault in California in 63 and in federal court in 70 for sending obscene literature through the mail. He received a 15-month prison sentence for the federal charge and served time at the McNeil Island Federal Penitentiary. Now here's the Dallas Odyssey Foundation. Yeah, please hit this subscribe. Thank you so much. I get tongue tied. I get a little excited about this. I'm sorry. On August 13th, 1973, Dallas police received a memo from the FBI stating that they had talked to a 21-year-old named Charles Brissendian, who contacted the agency on the advice of Rob Shivers, the Dallas correspondent of the gay magazine The Advocate. Brissendian told agents that he had been invited to Dallas as a fellow by a sponsor of an organization called the Odyssey Foundation. The sponsor's name was John David Norman, and Brissendian would stay the night at Norman's apartment where the two had sex. Brissendian began to realize that his sponsor was instead preying upon young men for procurement into sex and prostitution by leading them in under false pretenses of being a gay support organization. He began to go through the literature where he found that several of the fellows were missing and he had the word kill stamped on the file. You would not believe me. Hello, I'm Martin. Good to see you. Nightbot. No disability required. Okay, that's kind of weird how that Nightbot said that, right? Well, President grew concerned as he thought that it may be connected to the Houston murders. He also stated that Norman would get agitated when the topic of murders were brought up while on the phone. He would then call his friends at the Advocate, who suggested he talk to the FBI. Rob Shivers and the FBI both believed that the files stamped the kill wasn't literally, but was instead a publishing term, referring to trashing outdated materials. But now we know better, don't we? And not about as funny one. Oh boy. Upon receiving the memo, the police jumped on the lead quicker than usual due to the Houston murders and raided Norman's apartment at 3716 Cole Avenue based on the tip. Police seized booklets bearing the name International, put that over there, and containing photographs and contact information of teenage boys and young men, as well as 30,000 index cards listed between 50,000 and 100,000 clients located in the 35 United States. You tell 'em, Martin. Dallas Police Harold Hancock told the Chicago Tribune in May 1977 that prominent public figures and federal employees were among the names found in Norman's client list. Investigators sent the index cards to the State Department, a fact confirmed by State Department Counselor Matthew Nimitz. Nimitz stated that the State Department destroyed the index cards after determining them not to be relevant to any fraud case concerning a passport. Norman was charged with possessing marijuana, conspiracy to commit sodomy, and contributing to the delinquency of a juvenile. He was released on bail. Conspiracy to commit sodomy? Excuse me? Wow. Here's the Illinois Delta Project. After being released in Dallas, Norman fled to Homewood, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, in late August or early September 1973, using the name Steve Gurwell. He began living with Charles Relling, an Odyssey client from Homewood. Norman was previously trapped a 16-year-old boy from Independence, Missouri, to Relling, who went on a trip to Europe with the boy. That's what I'm saying. How did they conspire when they were actually doing the deed, right, Martin? How did someone conspire to commit sodomy? I guess when they were going like that and do the articles and stuff like that and trying to get more people in there, that's another way, I guess, huh? Hi, Eric. Good to see you. Thank you. Without a doubt, huh? And contributed to the delinquency of a minor. What about the kidnapping, right? When he took the guy all the way to Europe, right? Where's the kidnapping? Hello, James. Thank you. Oh, yeah. You got that right. It's a way of attaching a charge. In the spring, oh, thank you so much. I'm glad that he sent you. Get to know, did. Thank you, James. In the spring of 1976, was still awaiting trial on charges related to homo crimes. Norman was bailed out of Cook County Jail for $36,000 by an unknown person from California. Anybody that bails these sorry pieces of crap out of jail, I mean, I really think you need to go to jail yourself. I'm sorry. You go like this and you're going to help somebody where they can continue to do a crime, to hurt kids, to hurt anybody. No, you need locked up yourself. In December 76, he was sentenced to 4 years in prison and sent to Pontiac Correctional Facility. Shortly before he was released on bail, Norman began his next sex operation. The Delta Project began publishing a newsletter called Hermes. From Cook County Jail, Norman sent out 3 newsletters from the jail using the jail's printing press, claiming that the Delta Project aimed to provide educational, travel, and self development opportunities for qualified young men of character and integrity. Well, evidently, you don't know character and integrity because you don't have no character and integrity. And that Delta dorms were being established across the U.S., with each dorm having 2 to 4 cadets overseen by a Don. Police allege that the cadets were underage male prostitutes recruited in Chicago. In a May 1977 interview with the Tribune, Norman denied that Project Delta was sexual in nature and claimed to have sent the newsletter to over 7,000 people. At the time of the interview, police said that the newsletter had 5,000 subscribers and grossed over 300,000 per year. Yeah, for jail. Exactly. He was still doing the crime when he was doing the time, right? Norman was paroled in the fall of 77, but was arrested again in Chicago in 1978 for having sex with two underage boys from a local foster home and taking photographic pictures of both. Excuse me, he was not having sex with the boys. He was raping the boys. They're underage. That's rape. Get it right. Why, when a girl gets done this way, they say having sex? But how come when a boy, when you rape or sodomize a boy, you're saying having sex, right? That is so wrong. That is so messed up. One of the boys informed investigators that Norman was in the process of selling him to a client, and Norman, was simply waiting for his plane ticket. Norman was accused of refounding the Delta Project, now called The Created Corpse, and MC Publications, after being released from prison and operating out of his apartment at 685 one half West Brightwood Avenue, allegedly sending photos of the boys to a don in Canada, and the rate of the apartment 20,000 pink index cards, or possibly 50,000 to 100,000, containing the names of customers were found. Hey, hey, hey. Good to see you. Yeah, it is 1-6. Good to see you. Get to know. Wow, got to take a deep breath here, man. Between October 1983 and May 1984, Norman produced and published a child pornography magazine called Handy Andy from his rural home in a nearby motel in Ashburn, Pennsylvania. He exploited at least 20 teenage boys from the area, enticing them with drugs and alcohol and photographing them engaged in various sex acts. Norman fled Pennsylvania after his home was raided on May the 31st, 1984, but was captured in Bolingbrook, Illinois. In October 1984, he was released on bail yet again, people, in March 1985, and promptly fled again. What's wrong with this picture, people? Hello, Rex. Wow. Norm was captured in August 1987 in Urbana, Illinois, and given a 6-year prison sentence for crimes in Illinois. He was later extradited to Pennsylvania and sentenced to 18 months to 36 months in prison for charges related to Handy Andy. A 1986 news report focusing on Handy Andy stated that Norman was wanted in 5 different states for child sex crimes. Surprise, surprise, but y'all keep letting him go, right? Later crimes. Norman was convicted of child molestation. Surprise, surprise, huh? In Colorado in 1988, and of distributed child pornography in California in 1995 and 1998. He was released from prison in California in 1999, but was declared a sexually violent predator and was detained indefinitely at Atascadero State Hospital. He was eventually released from Atascadero to the rural town of Boulevard, California, under strict conditions. But you know that he's still going to do the crap. On February the 2nd, 2009, Norman violated those conditions by giving a note containing his contact information to a 19-year-old grocery bagger in El Centro. In March 2009, he was ordered back into state custody, this time at Coalinga State Hospital, where he died in 2011. Thank God this person is dead, okay? Possible connections to Dean Coral. Following Norman's 1973 arrest in Dallas, news reports indicated police were investigating via ties to serial killer Dean Coral. Coral murdered at least 28 teenage boys and young men in Houston between 70 and 73. Coral was himself killed on August the 8th, 1973, by his accomplice, Elmer Wayne Henley. Just days before Norman's arrest, Norman had previously lived in Houston, as evidence in the 1954 and 56 arrests there. Additionally, the source who tipped off police about Odyssey Foundation was a prostitute involved in the organization who got scared after an unidentified man in Houston requested his services. Hello, Clockwork. Good to see you. Henley gave a statement to police following Coral's death in which he stated that Coral claimed to be involved with a Dallas-based organization that bought and sold boys, ran horse and dope and stuff like that. Police stated they did not think Coral's other accomplice, David Allen Brooks, was involved with the Odyssey Foundation, but also did not rule out Coral and Henley as being involved, though they stated they had no evidence connecting them to Norman's organization. In 1975, however, Houston police reportedly finding pictures depicting 11 of Coral's victims during a raid on child prostitution ring. Now, here's a possible connection where the connection with John Wayne Gacy is to the perpetrator, right? So, right here, Norman is also alleged to have been connected to another serial killer, John Wayne Gacy, who murdered at least 33 teenage boys and young men in Chicago between 72 and 78. Norman's closest associate and personal friend, Philip Paskey, who was briefly an employee of Gacy's construction business, PDM Contractors. Police allege that Paskey had taken over running the Delta Project after Norman was sent to prison. He was also at Norman's apartment during Norman's arrest in 78, though Paskey himself was not arrested. Gacy implicated Paskey, Norman, and two other PDM employees as his accomplices in murder. You dated a gal who used to read all about serial monsters like this. He described Paskey as dangerous and stated that he pimped girls, boys for sex and movies. In a 1992 interview, Gacy claimed Norman and the Delta Project was producing snuff films of young boys, possibly including some of Gacy's victims. At least two victims believed to have been murdered by Gacy, Kenneth Parker, and Michael Marino, who had last been seen alive close to where Norman lived. Okay, so let me go to this next thing. Here's the John Norman records from Homewood Police Department, where its records on the 1973 investigation and arrest of John David Norman, then using the alias Stephen Gurwell for molested boys. Let's get over here. There's a suspicious subject, indecent liberties with a child, Homewood, Illinois. On October 31st, 1973, an anonymous caller advised the detective division that a man living in the vicinity of Harwood Avenue and Heather Road in Homewood, Illinois, was performing lewd acts upon young boys in an apartment. This caller further advised that one of the youths who was involved was a boy named, and they redacted that. An investigation was commenced, and it was subsequently learned that a subject known as Stephen Gurwell, who is a white male approximately 30 years of age, performed a lewd act upon the person of one of blank and blank, which constituted the offense of indecent liberties with a child. Now I'm going to go to the chat, see if anybody has anything to say with what you dated a girl like that. Yeah, they shouldn't be allowed to enter to ever be released. You got that right. You see how many chances that they had? They kept putting this jerk out in the streets. They kept letting him go, even after everything he was doing. He went to Gainesville, Florida. They never caught that person as far as Oh, wow. Your wife? Let's go over here to where it's go. What they say about, before we get to more of the news on that, here is San Diego County District Attorney's the sex offenders. What is a sexually violent predator? This is their terminology and their rules, okay? An SVP, sexually violent predator, almost all are men who have been convicted of one qualifying sex crime who has a mental disorder which makes him dangerous to the community after a court commitment proceeding under Welfare and Institutions Code 6600. Once he is found to meet SVP criteria, the patient is committed to the Department of State hospitals until he is deemed one, ready for the community based treatment, or two, no longer presents a danger to the community. Those determinations are made in a court here. In a few minutes, there's going to be names, and some of y'all can write down the names because there might be some that y'all want to research as well. I'm further down on this page. What kind of treatment is provided? There are 5 phases to the California Sex Offender Commitment Program. The first 3 are aimed at recognizing and controlling high risk behaviors through cognitive behavioral therapy. Phase 4 begins to prepare the SVP for possible community based treatment. Phase 5, and eventual community reintegration. Although all committed SVPs are offered treatment, at this time only about 20% have chosen to participate in the treatment program. How many SVPs are committed for San Diego County? As of April 2018, there are 65 SVPs currently committed to Coalinga State Hospital for San Diego County. What is the conditional release into the community? See, here we go. This is the final phase of treatment while the SVP is placed in and supervised within the community. But see, he wouldn't listen to therapy, so why was this guy even released? Am I right? Why was he even released? You're right, Martin. Yeah, guys too. Guys been wishing you did too. I'm sorry about that. Clockwork. So, what is the rationale for placing multiple patients at the same location? There are economic reasons, including rental savings and efficiency of transporting to various treatment programs patients are required to participate in each day. However, more importantly, according to DSH, the research indicates that sex offenders living together who are in treatment reoffend at lower rates than those living alone. Well, excuse me, because that was a sex offender, and John Wayne Gacy was even a sex offender. But that boy, that Paskey, that was living with a sex offender, this guy. Are SVPs ever released without conditions? Yes. Committed SVPs have a right to a court hearing to determine if they continue to qualify as an SVP. The SVP may bring a motion to have a court determine that, or it may occur as part of the regular court process under welfare and institutions. A judge or a jury may rule that a particular patient no longer meets the legal requirements. Well, I still think that they needed to have it. When that occurs, the former SVP is released into the community without any supervision. Y'all see that? Without any supervision. And this is California. Other than the requirement that he remain law abiding and register as a sex offender every 90 days. How many former SVPs are there in San Diego County? As of April 2018, 11 SVPs have been ordered into community outpatient treatment since 1996. Okay, here comes the names y'all might want to write down, like I said. Douglas Badger, Matthew Hedge, John Norman, Frank Johnson, David Chambliss, Gary Snavely, Terry Stone, Alan Fields, Mikhail Marshall, Michael Martinez, and Herman Smith. So Douglas Badger was first granted conditional release in 2006, but was revoked and returned to the hospital for further treatment. He was again conditionally released in 2013, but was never physically placed in a community and withdrew his request for release in 2014. As of April 2018, Douglas Badger is committed to Coalinga State Hospital. Matthew Hedge was granted conditional release in 2006, was revoked and then ordered back into the community for a second time in December 2009. In September 2012, the court found that he was no longer SVP and he was unconditionally released. Wow, 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 wow. John Norman, this is the guy we've been talking about, was granted conditional release for a brief period of time in 2008, was revoked and died at Coalinga State Hospital. Frank Johnson, who in 2011 was granted conditional release, died that same year. David Chambliss was in the conditional release program from 2007 until 2014, at which time the court found he was no longer an SVP and he was unconditionally released. No conditions, people. Gary Snavely was granted conditional release in 2007. His outpatient status was revoked in 2008 and he returned to the hospital for further treatment. In August 2014, he was granted conditional release for a second time. It was revoked a second time and is currently at Coalinga State Hospital. Terry Stone was granted conditional release in 2013 and remains in supervised outpatient treatment. Alan Fields was granted conditional release in 2013 and remains in supervised outpatient treatment. McKay Marshall was granted conditional release in 2014. He remained on conditional release until February 2018, at which time the court found he was no longer an SVP and he was unconditionally released. Michael Martinez was granted conditional release in 2017. His placement hearing occurred on March 16, 2018. His placement has been ordered. Herman Smith was granted conditional release in November 2017. His placement is pending, which is probably out now. Got to do more research on them and find out whether they're back in jail or where they're at today. Where are the Phase 5 SVPs permitted to live? If an SVP is being supervised as an outpatient in the community, he can only live in a court-approved placement. Do SVPs have to register as sex offenders? Yes. All current and former SVPs are required to register every 90 days or whenever they move. There are also other registration requirements for further situations which are explained to them at the time they register. For instance, if a former SVP were to move, he would need to register with the police department reporting his new address. But see, some of these up there said they're no longer an SVP. So then right there, they might not be registered sex offenders. You know, see what I'm saying? He's not considered an SVP anymore. He might not even be watched. He might not even have to be registered as a sex offender. Is GPS used to keep track of SVPs? If an SVP is a Phase 5 outpatient being treated in the community, it will have to wear GPS as part of supervision. Other former SVPs have no such monitoring. Does law enforcement monitor SVPs more closely than other sex offenders? Yes, law enforcement watches SVPs more closely than other registered sex offenders. And San Diego County, the Sexual Assault Felony Enforcement Safe Task Force is aware of each high risk offender. My thing is better yet. Don't don't do the crime. Don't do it. Don't do it. So here is where was notorious child sex ringleader John Norman connected to John Wayne Gacy. Okay. Although the most accepted narrative about the notorious serial killer John Wayne Gacy is that he acted alone, there have been theories floated that he had at least some assistance in his infamous killing spree, but he could have been in cahoots with a national sex trafficking ring. So pay attention to this. It's on this channel, Oxygen, I guess, where they had John Wayne Gacy, The Devil in Disguise. The new six-part docuseries from Peacock, John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise, brings fresh insight into Gacy's crimes while pondering whether or not the killer clown, who was convicted of murdering 33 young men and boys in the 70s, had accomplices to the crimes. Episode 5 of the series, you said we got to watch this because he's listed in there. On episode 5 of the series introduces viewers to John David Norman, who is one of four individuals that Gacy named as his accomplices in jailhouse interviews following his 1980 conviction and death sentence. However, said as a serial killer was a known liar and manipulator, any of his claims should be met with healthy skepticism. Which I believe this guy, was still, I think he's being honest about this because this guy, did live with Gacy's ex employee who did help murder a couple of these boys. Gacy said that both David Cram and Michael Rossi, who were two young employees of his contracting and construction business, PDM contractors, were involved in his horrific murders. Both teens later testified that they helped to dig trenches under Gacy's home, but they denied assisting in the murders themselves. Gacy's own lawyer, Sam Amirante, told the Seattle Post Intelligence interview in 2012 that he doesn't think the two teens had assisted in any of the killings. Gacy was also named another former PDM employee, Bill Paskey, that's who we're talking about, who is deeply linked to Norman, a convicted sex offender. Norman was the head of the notorious sex trafficking rings that supplied young boys to men across the nation. He was first arrested in Texas in 1973 after police found 30,000 index cards at his home with names of men who allegedly paid for sex with boys. Dallas Police Detective R.Z. Nelson referred to Norman as a pedophile of pedophiles, a man who advertised kids for rent, being sent before sending the adolescents around the country to be prostituted, as was reported in the Investigation Discovery podcast, The Clown and the Candyman. Norman would put ads out for his operation called the Odyssey Foundation and periodicals as he cruised areas known for young runaways. The accomplices of Texas-based serial killer Dean Candyman Coral, who killed 28 young men and boys until one of his associates shot him dead in 73. So that Coral worked for a Dallas-based organization that bought and sold and then murdered many of these boys. While it's speculated in the podcast and elsewhere that Coral and Norman were connected, it has never been confirmed. Of course, it's never going to be confirmed. A lot of that. Ted Bundy's the other guy. Yeah. No, the clown guy is Coral, the Corl. In 76, Norman was sentenced to 4 years in state prison on sodomy charges. 1 year later, the Tribune broke the story about Norman's sex trafficking ring nationally. The story named Paskey as Norman's closest associate and described him as a convicted murderer who carried on the leadership of Norman's sex trafficking after he was incarcerated. A note that was written by Gacy, later obtained by WGN Chicago, called Paskey dangerous and alleged he would pimp girls, boys for sex and movies. Gacy, Norman, Paskey, all in Chicago around that time. Tracy Ullman, one of the executive producers behind the Peacock docuseries told Oxygen, I find it hard for all these things to just be a coincidence. He began mentioning Norman as early as 1990 during an interview with an amateur researcher, Randy White, that he'd enlisted to gather information on his victims and associates. Wow. A 1992 prison interview, footage of which is included in the Peacock series, Gacy claimed that Norman's sex trafficking ring was making snuff films with young boys. Gacy even told investigators that they should look through Norman's videos to see if they could recognize any of the victims he'd killed over the years. Of course, Gacy also told the interviewer that he wasn't even sure if he ever met Norman in person. He actually asked to see a recent picture of him before answering it if he had. But it's at least plausible that they might have crossed paths in some form or another. And I think that they possibly did because of Pascal. From years of research, we found that pedophiles like Norman and Gacy often had lines of communication that tied them together, whether through coded ads in Boys Life magazine or actual contact to trade pornography or traffic in humans. In a 92 letter to White provided by Oxygen by Ullman, Gacy claimed that Norman had been arrested 19 times, 16 of those arrests being sexual in nature. He told White Norman was serving time in Colorado for sexual battery. In 2009, Norman was released on parole and remained a registered sex offender for the rest of his life, with a judge noting he spent most of his days inside prison and a state hospital. He didn't spend enough time, evidently, because he kept getting out and doing all that, right? And see, that's where he had an ad that a unique old guy needs a younger guy as a roommate and companion. It's more interesting company than sex. Pay little or nothing for room and board, according to the Union Tribune. Norman was sent back to a state hospital as a result. WGN reported in 2016 that he has since died. But let's go right here. Let's see if anybody said, you grew up in Green River? Yeah, to the Supreme Court. See if there's any more in here. Hello, everyone that's here. Anybody got any questions? Seagull, not about registering for vote. That Pepper. They would also allow students to use the restrooms they identify as right. So let's go to the next one. And here's John Wayne Gacy's other victims, which that's basically what we just got through reading. So we're not gonna. It says in May 1977, prompted by the revelations of Chicago Tribune series on child sex trafficking, a subcommittee of the Judiciary Committee of the U.S. House of Representatives came to Chicago to begin hearings on child exploitation. Series by Michael Sneed and the late George Bliss described purveyors who communicated with vast networks of pedophiles through the mail, excuse me, supplying them with child pornography and even setting up rendezvous. My Siri came up, so sorry, y'all. That was the Siri y'all heard in the background. Some members maintain camps or apartment buildings where victims were housed for sexual encounters. 2007, Sneed, now columnist in the Chicago Sun-Times, told Jake Tapper that on a weekly Washington City paper, she went undercover with the Chicago Police Department for a long time, and it practically destroyed me. I never thought I'd see the things I saw. I sometimes wish I'd never done it. See, enough to destroy your attitude towards men, and it's terrifying. Excuse me. If you think this sounds like a made up horror show, you're not alone. But it's all part of the public record, as are other busts of similar sex rings around the country, apparently flourishing in the 70s. And consider this pedophiles don't need to set up um, assignations through the Postal Service anymore. They continue to operate, but in much safer spaces online. One child purveyor named John David Norman had previously set up operations in Dallas, the Odyssey Foundation, and San Diego, the Conquest Agency, before winding up in the Chicago suburb of Homewood, where he was fulfilling customers' requests with the help of a young Chicagoan named Philip Paskey. According to the transcripts of the congressional hearings, by the time Norman was arrested in Homewood, he had amassed mailing lists for tens of thousands of customers. Y'all, this is a big network. These guys might be gone today, but look how many of these people are subscribing to this sick. Okay, it's got not so fast. Keeping in mind the recent trial of former House Speaker Denny Hastert, not to mention other prominent pedophiles like Penn State coach Jerry Sandusky, an accountable pedophile priest. You shouldn't be surprised to hear that the list contained the names of people from all walks of life. Shortly after fleeing Texas for Illinois and setting up shop in Homewood, Norman was arrested for sodomy even while awaiting trial in Cook County Jail. However, and later from Pontiac State Prison, Norman was able to continue fulfilling orders. See what I mean? This is very bad, okay? So let's go on to the next thing on this. Crime Hunter, how pedophile linked to serial killers. There's John Wayne Gacy. I think we had Gacy embarked on a homicidal rampage of rape, torture, and murder starting in 1972. Many of the victims were runaways and young male prostitutes. The killer clown's reign of terror in Chicago ended with his 1978 arrest. In 1980, he was sentenced to die in the electric chair for his vile crimes. As the clock ticked toward his day of death, May the 10th, 1994, Gacy insisted he was innocent. He wasn't, but also that he had accomplices. Now, here's where the story gets interesting. Here's John David Norman right here. Detectives had eyed two employees of Gacy's contracting firm. They were Michael Rossi and David Cram. Cops found nothing, but there was a third former employee that needed a closer look. His name was Philip Paskey, a cross-dressing young man who had a penchant for violence and sex with boys. Paskey was also the top lieutenant of a man named John David Norman. A top lieutenant? Or what say you when it says he's a top lieutenant? Who Gacy suggested also played a role. He's a pedophile of pedophiles, Dallas Police Detective R.C. Nelson said of Norman in the 70s. John David Norman's twisted history stretched from his hometown of Houston in 54, with more charges for child pornography and molestation in California, Chicago, Texas, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Colorado, and finally back to California. So here's Paskey right here. Here's Norman. In the early 70s, Norman was busted for running a nationwide sex trafficking operation called the Delta Ring, based in Chicago and Dallas, that supplied underage boys to pedophiles. At the same time, he ran a bustling child pornography business. Two of the boys believed to have been slain by Gacy were last seen near Norman's home. Coincidence? This added gasoline to the theory the contractor had connections to the sex trafficking ring. After all, Norman was Gacy's kind of guy. In 73, Norman was sending children around the United States and the globe to be molested by a small army of pedophiles. Poor kids. When he was arrested in Dallas the same year, detectives discovered more than 30,000 index cards in his home with the names of pedophiles who paid for sex with young boys and their sexual preferences. The cards mysteriously disappeared. Hi there, Timothy. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Norman would allegedly run ads in an operation, which he called the Odyssey Foundation. There is serial killer Dean, the Candyman. Coral murdered 28 men and boys. Accomplices of Dean, Candyman, Coral allege that the Houston killer worked with Norman and bought, sold, and murdered scores of young boys. These facts have never been confirmed. Coral, of course, murdered at least 28 teenage boys. Hold on a second. Let me mute my mic. Mute. I'm sorry about that. I had to tell the person I call him back, okay? Let me share the screen. See what y'all had to say. Sum it up. See what y'all had to say up here for a little bit. I'm sorry. They will allow students to use the restrooms. That's right. Anyone with a daughter won't like that. Exactly. Seattle is one of the news Sodoms. That's right. Seattle, Gomorrah. Yeah. Both my nieces homeschool their children, as does my stepdaughter. I'm so glad that they do that. You have to watch them everywhere you go, even at grocery stores. Down here, close to Nashville, a couple of years ago, there was a mother and her two daughters were shopping for shoes in a store. They had the youngest daughter in the shopping cart, and I guess she was in the bigger cart, and a guy started inching the cart away from the mother and trying to take off with a kid. And the kid actually screamed out. That's what saved her. They didn't get to kidnap her, thank God. That's about right, Martin. Thank you so much, Lady O. Clockwork. Yeah. Lots of people homeschool. Now I can see why exactly. Be careful who you let watch your kids too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and the way they cram the kids in classes, doctrinate, and mean teachers are spread something. Look at all the teachers now that's going through and messing with the kids as well. It's not just back. Oh boy, I was saying to a friend that the school system is saturated with the wokelet. Hello, hi there, good Barbara. Good to see you. I don't think it's coincidence either. I think they knew each other. They're not even shy about it in this state. Oh, y'all, please hit the thumbs up. And please subscribe too. Thank y'all so much. So let me go ahead and present the screen again. Sorry about that. So let's get past that one and let's go over here to this. And this is where it said, for some reason it gave me this where Henley, Henley was the other person, killed several of them myself with Dean's gun and helped him choke some others. Then he would take them and bury them in different places. So reads the statement. Elmer Wayne Henley, a 19-year-old high school dropout, gave police after his arrest to connection with the slaying of 27 young men in the Houston mass murders case. For the statement taken last August 6th by Sergeant David Mulligan of the police department. Okay, so that was a little tidbit that it showed me. So we don't need to look at that again, but it is on the news on that Peacock if y'all want to go watch The Devil in Disguise. Episode 5. Okay, here comes for the child porn pro key on parole. In Chicago, Illinois, the federal government Monday opened a nationwide investigation of a Chicago-based child pornography and prostitution ring. Key evidence consists of between 50,000 and 100,000 pink file cards believed to list the ring's customers and their sexual preferences. Wow. File cards also list citizens' fan radio information. Oh, man. So, CB radio, I guess, indicate that sex ring information can be passed via CB radio messages and possible violation of federal law. Authorities said they have evidence that the sex ring shipped boys across state lines and to some foreign nations for prostitution. This also will be a violation of federal law. FBI agents and postal inspectors were examining the card file, which was seized by Chicago police Friday in the apartment of John Norman, who was 50 at the time. Norman, identified by police as the head of the ring, was arrested on charges of contributing to the sexual delinquency of minors. After two teenage boys said he photographed them in the nude and had sexual relations with them, Norman's been jailed. You see all they got charged with? Contributing to the sexual delinquency of minors. Wow. And yet there's child pornography there too. At the time of his arrest, Norman was on parole from a prison sentence for molesting several suburban boys. With the cooperation of the federal government, we should bless me, finally be able to curb a good part of Norman's nationwide operation, said Chicago Police Sergeant Ronald Kelly, head of a special investigation unit of the Police Youth Division. Kelly has specialized in crimes involving child prostitution and child pornography. Norman suspected sex ring operations were first disclosed more than years ago in Chicago, in a Chicago Tribune series on child pornography and prostitution. He was identified at the time as head of the Boys for Pay operation and newsletter under the name Delta Project. Kelly said that when Norman was paroled last fall, he resumed a Delta Project operation under the names The Creative Corps and MC Publications. Police said MC stands for Mail Call. Whoa, I was wondering what that stood for, wasn't y'all? Mail Call. Wow. Federal authorities are seeking evidence of such federal law violations as shipping children across state lines for purposes of prostitution or pornography and radio misuse of the airways. Postal officials are attempting to learn details of the maze of post office boxes used by the sex ring, in which Paskey ended up getting a mailbox for the two. So here is where mass murder victims linked with sex ring. Juvenile officers say 11 boys who were victims of the Houston mass murders case are pictured in sex material seized in what police called a homosexual ring. It's not a homosexual ring, people. When are y'all going to get that? These boys were raped unwillingly. So don't be saying it's homosexual. How dare ye? How dare you? We would speak for, man, I can't stand when it keeps going back to that. So, wants to mess up and not go where I want to go, huh? It wants to conflict with me. Okay, so let me refresh that page and maybe I'll do better. I'm sorry. Nah, it just wants to argue with me right now. Okay, police said Thursday they have identified 32 of the thousands of youths in the pictures and films. Did y'all see thousands of youths there? Excuse me. Juvenile officer Johnny Freeman said most of the youngsters are from Heights area of Houston, and a few questioned from the Bombal area moved there within the past year. The case became public last week when four men were charged with sexual abuse of a child. They were Bryant A. Birch, Leonard E. Cunningham, John Jennings, and Alfred Van Dyke. Officers Ed Greenstein, Audrey Davis, and Freeman said they were told by youngsters involved in the case they were paid 15 and 20 for being in a movie, and they did not know that was against the law. Reels of film show youngsters, some as young as 8 and 9, engaging in sex acts, Greenstein said. Distribution of the film ranged as far as Sweden and Austria, authorities claimed. The officers said postal inspectors and the Internal Revenue Service have been working on the case. Police estimated they had more than 10,000 color photos of unclad children in various poses, more than 1,000 reels of film, 200 magazines, and a number of paperback books. Some of the youngsters in the pictures now are legal adults, leading officers to believe the bitches have been going on locally for some years. Yeah, that's what it does. It goes on for years. Gonna keep growing. Okay, here's where the parolee arrested for child porn. Here's another one on him. A Northside man on parole for operating a nationwide ring that supplied boy prostitutes to homosexuals were arrested Friday in a Northside apartment from where police said he had resumed the operation. And I don't want to call them boy prostitutes either. They were not boy prostitutes. They were sold. They were trafficked young boys. I'll call it for what it is. Trafficked young boys. John D. Norman, 50, was arrested after a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old said Norman photographed them nude and had sex with them. Police said both youths are wards of the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services. Wow. Did the Children's Services, let them buy, let him buy them even way back then? Sergeant Ronald Kelly, head of a police child pornography unit established after a Tribune series in '77, said Norman has been running an operation known as the Creative Corps, the MC's publications. Kelly said the letters stand for male call. The boys told a team of officers, including police women Sue Luther and Rose Brzezinski. Sorry. You see what happens when I click it off of that. Well, I'm having trouble today, and let's just close that one out. I can find it. Well, I can find it. It just come back, didn't it? They send their pictures and then the boys to a Canadian Don, a man supporting boys for sexual purposes. Policeman Patrick Deedy, Louis Albisa, Joe Morgiano, and William DiGiulio went to Norman's basement apartment and found cameras, pornographic material, and thousands of pink cards with the names of customers and their sexual preferences, Kelly said. Joe Barnes or Orno, or I guess that's how you say it, huh? The voluminous file contained names from every state and some foreign countries, and some cards included pictures of the customers, Kelly said. Norman was charged with 2 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a minor in violation of his probation. The Kelly said Corpse and MC were new names for the Delta Project and Boys for Pay operation. Okay, so we'll go past there and go to the next thing. And it's where this story continues. And here's a picture of him, John Norman, right here. Because it operated from Chicago under Norman's direction, even though he was in prison, was uncovered by the Tribune in a series of articles on child pornography. Norman, released late last year from the Pontiac State Prison, reestablished the business and also ran Winter Circle, in which he purchased out-of-state lottery tickets for clients nationwide. Norman's pro- I hate when I do that. Norman's parole provision forbade him from being near a boy 18 or younger unless the youth's parents were present. For keeping or selling pornography, and ordered him to attain psychiatric treatment, parole officer Murray Weiner said. Philip Paskey, 25, an associate at Delta, was in the apartment when Norman was arrested, Kelly said. Paskey was identified in Norman's NC newsletter as manager of mail order house handling. Whatchamacallits. Kelly said, I don't think I'll eat another candy bar called whatchamacallit again now. Paskey was not arrested, Kelly said. Now let me get rid of that page too. And here's where the seized files are studied for child sex leads. A sex file containing what police said were 20. Sorry, and take a deep breath. Get a little excited here. A sex file containing what police said were 20,000 pink index cards bearing names of customers and their sexual preferences was being examined Sunday by the Chicago Police Department's Special Unit on Child Pornography and Prostitution. Police said the file, which they called a mail order sex file, contained names from every state and some foreign countries, was confiscated in the apartment of John Norman, age 50. Norman, arrested Friday on a charge of contributing to the sexual delinquency of minors, was being held in Cook County Jail. Why could they not have got him for kidnapping, holding against the will, rape, all this other kind of stuff? And how come they got the charge of sexual delinquency of minor? On parole after imprisonment on the earlier child molestation conviction, Norman had been identified in a 77 Tribune child pornography series as a ringleader of one of the country's largest mail-order child pornography and prostitution operations. The series was the result of a 4-month investigation by the Tribune and Chicago police. Commander Harold Thomas, chief of the police department's youth division, said the arrests showed that Norman was not only back in business, but that his business was bigger than ever. Norman was released from prison last fall and paroled on condition that he avoid the company of boys under the age of 18 unless accompanied by their parents. He was serving time for having sexually molested several boys from suburban Chicago. After his arrest Friday, Norman was charged with having sex with 2 boys, one 16 and the other 17, and with taking nude pictures of the boys. He also was charged with violating his parole. Both boys and foster children wards of the Department of Children and Family Services, said Sergeant Ronald Kelly, head of the Special Child Pornography Unit. Since Norman's release from Pontiac last fall, he hadn't wasted any time, Kelly charged. Norman has now reestablished his own Delta Project uh, Corporation under new names, Creative Corps and MC Mail Call Publications. These operations send young males to men for sexual purposes, Kelly charged. One of the boys told us Norman was in the process of sending him to a man in Canada, and they were just waiting for his ticket. When Norman was in Cook County Jail awaiting trial for the earlier child molestation charge, he printed a John Norman newsletter on prison equipment and solicited funds for his legal fees during subscription appeals to the Delta. Okay. We intend to go through the whole file and find out just who subscribes to child sex publications, Kelly said. The team of policemen and women who raided Norman's apartment included Patrick Deedy, Louis Albizo, Joe Bongiorno, William DiGiulio, Rose Brzezinski, and Sue Luther. They said Norman's basement apartment was littered with pornographic material. And we got to see that Chicago is a center for national child porn. That was in 1977. It was really bad there. Okay. And yes, it's got it in here as well, him in here. But I don't think we need to go on and on reading more on this particular one since we done read several of this. But I just want to show how prominent that is. He was also, at 16 years old, look, y'all, he was offered a scholarship. He could have been a piano person or something. He could have really made something better out of his life. John David Norman, 16, son of Mr. and Mrs. Earl Norman, longtime Ada residents now living at Houston, was one of two honor students from Houston high schools winning $900 scholarships for best papers in a contest on the United States Constitution recently. Wow. He could have really made something big out of himself with what he was doing, right? Young Norman, who also was awarded the Edgar Bergen Radio Award, planned to enter the School of Speech at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, September 18th. His scholarship was won in competition with 63 other Houston students. The contest was sponsored by the Committee on Constitutional Government, and papers were judged by 78 judges. Planning his courses so as to finish high school in 3 years and 1 summer, John David expects to graduate in August, which he did, whatever. The youngest radio engineer ever to work at Houston station KTRH. His picture soon was appear in a nationally circulated radio magazine. The Norman has also been a student at the Houston Conservatory of Music, studying piano, and then was studying pipe organ with Herbert Roloff. His grade school work was taken at Horace Mann School here, and he attended Ada Junior High, a ready course from Harold Allen under the federally sponsored OU training program, and a training under Mr. Heyman at the East Central College stimulated his interest in that work. Why did he change his interest and go for the other thing, right? So let me see if there's any more saying on. You want to would y'all like to open a panel? Yeah, I think we have read enough, don't y'all? Who would like to get up in the panel? Clockwork, would you like to join? Okay, I'm fixing to send an invite out there to let y'all. So, but please refrain from a lot of profanities, okay? Okay, I put it out. Let's see if it did it. Okay. There's a link for y'all that want to join up in the panel. Okay, go ahead, go bathroom. Okay, we shall return. I guess everybody, if you got to go to the bathroom break, go ahead. That was a good idea. I should have played music. Is anybody here that wants to join? Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate it. Who wants to join the stream? Let's come in and join. I set the link for there. If anybody wants to join the panel, get up and talk. Let's discuss this. And some people went ahead and went to the bathroom right quick. When he mentioned it, I had to go myself too. So, so while we're waiting on people to come in, if you're at Facebook and you want to come to YouTube, hey there.
Hello.
How are you doing tonight?
Warming up. It's been cold as if you're in like you know how cold it's been lately. And now
Oh,
we're up
yes.
to we're up into at least the low 60s,
So
maybe.
where are you located? Because I'm in Tennessee and it's about 68 right now.
Yeah, it's working on here. I'm in the Appalachian Mountains of Virginia. I live near the North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky border, all that good noise. I live like right in that little corner of the Appalachians.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah,
were
it's
you affected by the hurricane?
oh yes. 4 days without power.
Oh, bless your heart.
4 days. It went out Friday. It did not come back on until Monday. So
Oh, man.
yeah, Helene screwed everything up. But we had an ice storm last month that if Helene hadn't come through and knocked all that shit down to begin with, oh sorry, I
Uh-huh.
didn't mean to cuss.
It's okay.
Well, it would have been a lot worse and it would have been a lot colder, you know.
Right. And how I
Four
get to
days.
know?
Yeah.
Hi, Darlene. I'm just letting you know right now, you can't trust this Clockwork Rex guy. He's kind of
Oh,
he's kind
hey.
of an oddball.
I'm slick. I'm not greasy. Okay. I'm just
What's
saying.
up, Clockwork?
How you doing, man?
No, we're just getting
How's
ready
work
for work.
going? Did you
I'm
get
getting
everything?
ready to go to work right now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So what did y'all's take on what we were discussing today with this guy? They just kept letting him out of jail. Isn't that stupid?
I think it's a perfect example of how fucked up our judicial system is.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty well screwed up. Yeah. It's really
I know.
I
My
hear
wife
your wife
got on
in the background.
Huh?
I hear your wife in the background. Hey there.
Hi, Darlene.
You told him to get his ass to work.
No, she told me to watch my language because I'm on Darlene's channel, but I'm the only one that can swear on Darlene's channel.
Oh. Okay, fair enough.
It's like we try to get because we got a lot of Christian folks that listen at Facebook.
Yeah, I know. But sometimes I just call them sentence enhancers. So
Oh yeah. It's like yeah. Well, I mean, I was in the army for 8 years, and yeah, you kind of get used to it, or you lose your mind. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
but
it's
what you're talking about today is an honestly good example of how screwed our judicial system is when it comes to these kind of charges. But if you get caught with drugs, if you get caught with drugs, you're going to prison for sure. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
gonna send you to Guantanamo or something. Yeah,
Yeah, it's so bass backwards. I couldn't even.
I know. I know. Hey, look, I'm no Batman because I'm not rich, but if I had the power, they would just vanish.
Amen.
They would disappear as soon as I heard
They
of
get-
like once. I'd be like, look, I'm gonna break all the fingers on your right hand. You do it again, you're gonna forfeit your life.
I just say go
They
straight
said
to
that
the line.
they said they're trying to teach these people integrity and these kids integrity. Instead, they're like, excuse me, y'all don't know what integrity really is, do you?
If you think for 1 minute after what I went through as a child, after what you went through as a child, Darlene, for examples, if you think for 1 minute that I give one iota or one squirt of piss about anybody that hurts a child, you got me all backwards.
Yeah, and I get really mad at these people who keeps bonding these people out of jail too. Like, why are you the heck would you do that?
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I think they should be into themselves, the one that bonds these perpetrators out.
Yeah, they're just as they're almost just as guilty as the perpetrator of the crime itself.
Look, you've all seen the statue of Lady Justice, right?
Uh-huh.
They think it's a symbol. They think it's a symbol. No, that's literal. She has a blindfold on. She has scales in one hand, and she has a sword in her other hand.
Because justice is blind, but swift.
Punishment. Yeah,
Yes.
that sword is punishment. And you know, some of these
And you can't spank somebody with a sword. You know what I mean? You can't spank somebody with a sword. The sword's
No,
not meant to spank
that's
you.
not what you do with a sword. You don't.
That's not what you do with the sword.
Yeah.
What?
They lose pieces. Yeah, with a sword. Yeah.
Okay, don't flush it. I'll fix it. I'll fix it. Out of the back?
Yes.
All right, I'll see what's wrong with it.
Oh,
Yeah.
malfunction in the matrix. But
But
yeah,
I really
Just
think
give me
it's a
put a new
shame
water heater
because
in.
when they said that this is integrity, and then you see the connections with Gacy and also with Paskey and all them, the serial killers, and live right in that area, the ones that were going in. Some of the guys that he also video recorded, you know, for the pornography, were ended up some of the ones that were murdered.
oh yeah. Well, I was talking in chat earlier about Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer.
Right?
I grew up near the Green River around that time, so I could have been. Well, I mean, I wasn't dumb. I wasn't a dumb little kid. I did stupid shit, but yeah, nothing like, who's this guy? Maybe I should. I don't know. It was a weird time. It was a weird fucking time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
When we go, the more we go into your studying this case, and I done closed out that page too, which showed that even he was released, the kind of place where he was released, they said for the police that they knew where is that basically what. But he was released in an environment where no kids were around. But do you think these older couples and all that wanted him as a neighbor? I don't think so. Because they're going to have even though they're older adults or whatever, they're going to have their grandkids that's going to come and visit and everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, your kids and your grandkids, and yeah.
So, you know, they said we don't put them in a community where there's any kids, but there's going to be kids over there visiting their relatives. Like, get real, you know?
I did a sex offender search in my area, and I live in a sparsely populated area. You would not believe how many there are within like 30 miles of my house. It was, I was blown away. I was like, no way.
It's truly disgusting, ain't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very disgusting. And to note that there's some people that actually have the sex offender register thing, and they're not even supposed to be within distance of a school where kids are, and yet they're right beside it and even overlooking the playground where the kids play. And it's like, it's sickening.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Hey, Nam, good to see you.
I live within
y'all
a
say
mile.
hi to Nam. She's in
Oh, hey.
Hi,
she's
Nam.
on Facebook. She's on Facebook, so she can hear y'all say hello. So,
But yeah, I live within a mile and a half of an elementary school. And when I did that search, I'm just gonna
wow.
be Batman or some. I didn't got the money to be Batman, but yeah, some of them's got to go. I'm just saying, they're too close to that elementary school.
Okay, cool.
Exactly.
By law, by federal law mandates that they're no more or no less than 1,000 feet or 1,000 feet away from a school.
Can you see the screen? She said, God bless y'all.
Thank you. Or any establishment that has to do with children.
You know.
Exactly.
Some states it's 5,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
If you're wondering how far 1,000 feet is, 1,000 feet is just over 3 blocks.
Yep.
Well,
I'm not exactly sure what the specifics are in Virginia, but they're too close. You know what I mean? If the little red dot appears near that elementary school in any capacity, I don't care if it's a mile, 3 miles, that's too damn close.
Exactly.
Now check this out, Clockwork. what I want you to do is when you end the stream or whatever, Darlene, here's what I want you to do, Clockwork. That person that's on your registry, on your map, that's that close to a school, call your police department and report him and see what they tell you.
All right.
You know what I thought was. She said we're all doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing that really upsets me is you know my story, and you know that one of the predators that my daddy sold me to, that his daddy worked at an auction house, but he actually was a Alabama state trooper.
Yep.
Yeah, and then he got caught with some of the pornography thing later on, and he ended up, I don't know if that's why he lost his job or what, but that's what I assumed. And then I know he had a house, his daddy's house on this other road, right? So it didn't make sense for him to be living in the same apartments I was living in. And now it was, I guess they know that he had worked as a state trooper and had the pornography, but yet they went ahead and hired him in the city police department. And then where his apartment was overlooking, right beside the school, overlooking the playground. You know how I wanted to barf at that? And see, I would have never realized he done that to me had he not confronted me and told me, hey, I remember you from all the child pornography videos that his dad had over 300 and I was in the majority of them. I would have never known, I guess, unless, just wouldn't have, I knew that even looks at him, I wanted to barf. I didn't know why, you know what I'm saying? But as far as, I did not remember, and it was really sickening to hear. And I just get so hot thinking about doing you again. It's really sickening hearing that from us. It's like, whoa, it makes me hot thinking about doing you as a kid. Just keep getting hot thinking about it. And I'm like, what? And I said, how old were you? He said that I was 4 to 11. So he told the ages in which Dad had me in it, and his dad, and he said that he was 9 to whatever. And I looked his obituary up and everything, and it was a lie. He was 18 or 19 years old when I was 4 years old.
Wow. Horrible.
I'm in favor of bringing back the guillotine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Line them up. And, I'm not favored for, making them suffer in jail just for the fact that we got to keep paying for their food and their keeping them up and their health care and all that other kind of stuff. I'm not favor for all that,
That's why I call them 47-cent cases. Is because that's about how much it costs to make a 9mm bullet, about 47 cents.
Yep. Well, and I'm of two minds about the whole prison thing, because if you put a molester in prison, the gen pop, if they find out about what he was convicted of or they were convicted of, they beat the fuck out of that guy. He will not.
Sometimes. Yeah. Now let me remind you. Here in my state, they're actually building an annex to the prison where they're going to house the sex offenders. So they're not. They will never see general population. They will never be gotten to. They have their own cafeteria, their own rec yard, their own rec room. All that shit, it's all private now. Because the state prisons are they're responsible when you enter in the prison system. The state prison system is responsible for your well-being. You don't get to get sent to prison just to be murdered. I mean, it happens sometimes, but that's most states are going to follow suit, and it's ridiculous. They get special privileges while they're in prison.
Yeah, and then they can go in there, exercise, and all this other kind of stuff, and no telling what all. And they're just people that does his favor.
And molesting children to other pedophiles. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and what y'all think about that article that said that they thought that if they housed a pedophile with another pedophile, that pretty much if they're not going to redo it, like what? You really think so? You got to house 2 pedophiles together, and you think they're never going to do the act again?
Yeah,
like what?
Well, let's get something straight first, okay?
Collaborate and shit. Yeah.
Let's get this straight, and let's get this out there again. When it comes to statistics about this topic, I'm probably the most knowledgeable that I know of out of everybody I know. The reoffense rate of a sexual predator is 99%.
Oh yeah, there is no
99%
cure.
of them will reoffend. Period.
You can't rehabilitate it. You can't beat it out of them. They're going to do it again. They will. So yeah.
Yep. One thing was talking about Cash was John Wayne Gacy is affiliated with this John David Norman, and there's a docuseries on that as well, and he's on episode 5, I believe it said on that docuseries. The guy that we're talking about today.
And
Y'all
yes,
see what the comment is? What's the Louis Theroux documentary?
Louis Trudeau, yeah. Just don't show it on here because you'll get taken down. I'm not kidding. We got to watch about 10 minutes of it before YouTube literally shut me down and banned me from posting or showing videos or going live for a week.
Oh yeah, you got the boot fan. Yeah.
But I watched that documentary and it'll open your eyes. It'll open your eyes to how shit really goes.
Yeah, one thing I think about, because there's private in here, and I wonder sometimes if do the private and how we go about inviting people privately into something like that, so we don't get doxxed or something like that when we go to do something like that.
See, I've done that. I've done that too, but with documentaries, like you're not allowed to show a documentary, period, on YouTube, unless you're the original person of the documentary.
Wow.
You can't even put it in private because they see, because your private streams, they're not private. YouTube sees that shit. How do I know that? Because I got shut down during a private stream of a movie.
Wow.
It's the AI bots, man. They've done something with the AI bots on YouTube that just strikes you just because. Yeah.
Yep.
And see, that's private, so it's not you getting it out there to the, you know what I'm saying?
It doesn't matter to the bot.
Nope, it don't. Bots have no feelings, no conscience.
I know the Nightbot got on to me a while ago. Said something about there's too many spammers, whatever, and they didn't like somebody doing emojis in chat.
Yeah, your Nightbot is a different kind of bot. These YouTube AI bots are like they scan for content. I mean, yeah, your Nightbot does for like if you spam emojis or whatever, but it's not like actively trying to shut people down.
Move.
Yeah, that's what I could do is when they have a little thing about the Louis Theroux and stuff, and then tell people they could go and watch it, kind of like what I did today, and then they'll be free to go watch the documentaries like that.
Oh, hey, look, the very first time I ever did like a stream, it was on Halloween of like 5 years ago or something like that. I restreamed Night of the Living Dead, the old black and white Romero one. YouTube was fine with it. I got a copyright claim from somebody in Turkey about the music. I was like, what? The movie was fine. It was the music. So if I'd have played it on mute, I'd never got a copyright claim, I guess.
Yeah. And I want people to look at the screen over there on Facebook where y'all can see what that says. What's the Louis Theroux documentary? So y'all can write that down, okay?
Well, they keep changing the rules. I mean, no fair.
Yep. I get a copyright claim on almost every single live stream I do.
Oh, I don't care about the claims. It's the strikes. Yeah, the strikes are what'll get you. If you get 3 strikes, you're out. It's like baseball or something. But claims don't bother me. I play music and all kinds of shit. Get claims all the time. As long as it's not a strike, you're good to go.
Yep.
But I wouldn't recommend them walking in my path. But you can if you want to. You can try.
Right.
Thank you, Kat. I've got it written down so I could go that a little bit more and show people how to do that and another.
Just a warning, when you guys watch the documentary, I'm telling you right now, it's going to trigger the hell out of you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I use Discord. If I want to show like something important, People can watch it on my Discord if I think it's going to get like a claim or a strike or something on YouTube.
Yeah.
So Discord doesn't charges you to be on there and show or whatever.
Oh no, you
Nope.
can show if you've got a link to like a copyrighted movie, you can show it on Discord just fine. You're not sharing it with everybody. You're sharing it with a specific group of people. Like with you, I have a movie room in my Discord, and we go in there and watch movies sometimes. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, Discord's a lot.
Them and them is in Pakistan, and she's a really good, sweet friend. Feeling calm that you are thinking about the life of many kids. God bless you all.
Every day. That's what I do.
Yeah. Get to know is also a survivor,
Mhm.
And so is my
and
wife.
so is his wife too. Yes. And he's fixing to have his book out there pretty soon, right?
I am. It's going to be a couple more weeks probably, but it's coming. It's coming. We decided we're going to beef it up a little bit. That way we can get a better binding on it and a better spine, so we can put the title of the book on the spine and the author of on the spine and shit. So
Cool.
Okay, look forward to it.
hell yeah.
But yeah, I'm a survivor too. I mean, I just don't talk about it a whole lot
Yeah.
because it was sort of in the family, and I just thinking about it hurts.
Yeah. If anybody else is in here in the room that wants to get up, just let me know. I'll be glad to drop the link for this discussion because I think this is very imperative. I'm sorry that you had to go through this as well, Clockwork.
Oh,
Went away, when people tell me I'm sorry, and all,
It makes me
I
mad.
tell them,
yeah,
don't apologize to me. I said, I'm grateful for it because then I can spread the knowledge and maybe help other people, right?
yeah, and it wasn't their fault either. Which is why I've tried to not say that. I mean,
Yeah, and Eric says he's letting y'all know that he's a victim of CSA as well.
There's a lot of us out there.
It
yeah,
is.
more than you think. Yeah,
No, it's not more
Kathy,
than
Anam was asking
yeah,
how you're doing, so that I could show her how you're doing when you answer her. So, so she's at Facebook or Book of Faces.
Yeah, you're right, Cash. It's all about educating, man. The more people that speak up about it, the more we're going to be heard.
yeah, and the more people that are aware of it, the more people that can look for the signs and symptoms of it happening.
Yes. And there are plenty of them out there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, if I go into Walmart, I give a bunch of people the fucking side eye. Sorry,
Oh, yeah, me too.
I'm
I
like,
look around.
yeah,
When I'm at Walmart, I look around and see that there's look around to see the general area and see how people, if they're looking at me kind of weird, it's like, okay, get away from that person quickly, right? And then a lot of times if I see a lady that's far away from her kid, I'll approach close to that kid and shop around and keep an eye on that kid to make sure somebody don't go up and snatch that kid, or whatever.
well, people look at me weird all the time anyway, because I kind of dress like the Crow when I go out in public, like all black. I don't have my face painted like Kiss or anything, but yeah, people
Or
just
nothing
like
like that guy that played on the Crow.
Brandon Lee. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he got accidentally killed on set, but yeah, I like when people like look at me because yeah, I'm watching you, you're watching me. Fair enough.
Right.
Like,
Have y'all ever went like when you go out in public and you don't even have to say anything to somebody, then all of a sudden you just feel like there's a common bond between you, and years later you find out, oh, that's a survivor as well.
oh yeah, it's like a look in your eyes. You
It
see it.
is. It's a way they carry themselves. It's a way that they're always on guard. It's the look in their eyes. It's crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, we spend millions globally on defense and war, yet we allow resources for welfare vulnerable. And they put more money towards like arresting people with drugs. I'm not saying they don't deserve jail, but look at the pedophiles, and it destroys a kid's life forever, you know. And
Hey,
they're
look,
able to get out there and just keep reoffending. And like I had a friend that she was kidnapped when she was a little girl, and he took her off and he raped her. And then there was other girls that were done that way by this same monster, and he just got a slap on the wrist.
It happens all the time.
yep.
It happens
Yeah.
all the time.
They
We gotta be sure also that y'all know the help me sign. Y'all know the help me sign, right?
Yep.
Where you put your thumb inside and then you put your hand down. Help me.
well,
Yep.
I mean that's useful if you know that sign, but usually I can just look and tell.
Yeah.
So,
I think
mean,
at times I think at times people probably notice that about me, but then they were more afraid of my perpetrators around me than it was about helping me. You know what I mean?
fair.
Yeah.
Hello, Lori.
Well, a bunch of people have that I don't want to get involved attitude. And sometimes, you just got to pull your fucking shit together and get involved because they need help, especially children.
Because I have that all the time. Always connected to other survivors, even when I don't know. I've had a couple of friends, old ex-boyfriend, be accused of. Well, yeah, it is heartbreaking. That's right. You got that right. And the bad thing is about CPS going like that and taking the kids away from just to get more money and stuff, and then they're basically pimping out our kids.
Yep.
We're telling everybody hello.
Oh, hey, hi, everybody.
Hi, Lori.
Funny when you say Cash because we got a guy named Cash in the room.
Yeah, I'm new here. I appreciate the welcome. Yeah, thank you very much.
Darlene's my sister, Clover.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She's my sister from a different mister, but she's still my sister.
Oh, fair enough.
Sister from another Mister. Yeah.
I have my sister's best friend is like that. She's like my stepsister, I guess is the best way to put it. Yeah. She's not any part of the family, but she is because
Yep. But I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go to work, ladies and gentlemen. Darlene,
You have a
sweetheart,
good day at work or
you
not
know I
good
always
night.
love coming up on your channel and saying hi and keep doing the great work, girl. I'm telling you what, putting the word out there is what it's about.
yeah, go make
Yeah,
that cabbage
yes.
man and be safe.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
clockwork, stay strange, my friend.
Definitely. Too
All
late
right.
now. Too late.
Later.
Take care.
Now they're all on alert with the situation, and theirs are raw. I don't blame anyone for being upset. This is something to be upset about. You got that right. Yeah, stay safe. Get to know. As Cass said. Yeah, so I just went over the other day the guy that at Boys Farm, and then I went over. I think he had affiliations with these people. Darlene is my best friend. We talk every day on the phone, even like at 3 in the morning. Yes, we do, don't we? So, you got anything else you want to add there, Clockwork?
Um, yeah, probably a whole hell of a lot, but that's a rabbit hole that we can go down later. But
What
yeah,
app?
well, I'm wondering, you remember my spiderweb analogy?
Say it again, because I might have forgot. I'm sorry.
My spiderweb analogy, how it's all like connected. All right, who's at the center? Who built the spiderweb to start with? That's where we need to fucking. Sorry, damn.
Yeah, that's what we need to. Yeah,
We need to find who is at the center of all this.
exactly. Me and my ex-friend, we used to have a little analogy. We get mad at some of these perpetrators and stuff. We said, okay, well, where's that house at? That's, we didn't took out all the windows and all it is one door. We go in there, we put it in there, and it's man-eating spiders in there, and then we kind of like block the door. They can't get out. And they said, poor spiders, they would still be hungry after devouring that person. We'll have a lot of fun with it.
Well, that's the thing. Your spider analogy is spot on because if you lock them in there and they've got nothing else to eat, they'll start eating each other. And eventually you'll get to who is at the center of all of it. Eventually. But
I
there's
love you all too.
there's probably more than one spider too. I mean,
Oh, there is.
yeah.
Even my evil stepmom, I don't know if you know fully my story or whatever, but she even called herself the Black Widow.
Jeez.
And she was into the cult. She was into um, doing some things to me. She even killed my first son, stabbed him. I had him at home, from her holding me down while her son raped me. It wasn't from me being promiscuous as a kid, as a teenager or whatever. It's from her doing that. So she definitely was a Black Widow spider. Was that too graphic for you?
No, 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 no. I was just thinking I had a black widow spider as a pet.
You did?
Yeah, yeah. I fed them crickets.
A cricket?
But yeah, she lived for a season and then she died. And this is, look, we need somebody like Arya Stark, if you've ever watched Game of Thrones, to go around and just X these people off the list. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Hello, Carly.
Sorry, that might have been a little too graphic. But
Well, I think because it's even in the Bible, it says it's better to hang a millstone around your neck and throw yourself in the death sea than to just harm one of these little ones that believe in me. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, I'm Old Testament. Look, eye for an eye. I'm sorry if you don't like that, because Jesus came and said, no, we should forgive everybody. No, eye for an eye. Your punishment should fit your crime.
Yes. I believe so too. And if they go like that and they harm other kids, and like with this culprit today, look how long he's been at doing what he was doing, and he just kept getting slaps on the wrist. I never seen one where it actually. I'd like to see all his arrest things and see if there was one in there where he actually did with rape of a child, sex trafficking, instead of going like that and saying delinquency of sexual delinquency of a minor. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, and if you do that to a child or a person that is not mentally developed, they become used to that treatment. And that's another whole horror story we could talk about, where they just get used to it because they think that's the way they should be treated. And they're wrong. You should not be treated like that.
Right.
But they've been conditioned. It's like
Exactly.
Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, it's kind of like Stockholm syndrome, except worse.
Wow. Well, she said when she was at around 14, 15, she was at a house party, had a bit of activity behind me, so I turned my head, and there was a huge spider on my left shoulder. Without thinking, I reacted and quickly hit. Did it?
Well, hey,
Did it
that,
bite you?
yeah, that's how you get bit. Spider won't mess with you until you try to mess with it. Usually.
Well, I got woke up in the night when brown recluse had bit my toe. Well, it was undercover, but it bit me.
Well, I did. I got bit by this kind of spider I'd never heard of. It's called the glass spider. And it did. It looked like glass. I was cleaning my room up and, vacuuming and doing all this other crap. It bit me on the leg, and I could see where it bit me and how the poison was going through my veins. It was like purple and brown and yellow and red. And I was like, oh man, am I going to die? Did this spider just kill me? I survived. I survived.
She said she had no idea that this guy's spider was a pet, so she got in trouble. That she better leave.
Oh, was it a tarantula? Normally they don't kill you when they bite you. It's just painful. But if it was a tarantula, no, it's not going to kill you. But I had never heard of a glass spider before.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I don't think I said my real actual name, but during this one, so I hope I didn't. But I said about my stepmom, that was her username. It was good to see you, Cash. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you. Behave yourself. You got to behave yourself, Cash. I don't think you know how, though. Yeah, supposed to go to a stream tonight. There's a friend of one of my friends I was watching that would do the go to one of the Delphi murders and stuff.
Oh, yeah, the Black Dahlia.
And he's going to do a live stream tonight. So this one guy is about a friend, and
Oh,
it's going to be hurtful on what happened and everything. But I'm there to support my friend.
sure.
Yeah. What she say right here? I had no forewarning, and my body reacted before I could even think about it.
Right.
The worst spider story that I had, I went to an old auction house. A friend of mine had a job cleaning it, right? So I just walking around, and all of a sudden I went to the bathroom, just looking around, checking out the rooms. I'd never been at this place before. And I was checking out all the rooms, and I seen a big spider on the floor. I decided I was going to step on it. Biggest mistake of my life, because it was a wolf spider, and it had a lot of babies on its back. So there were spiders all of a sudden all around me.
Yeah,
That
it was
floor,
like that. It was like that scene from The Mist. Have you ever seen that movie, The Mist?
I haven't.
Oh, no, there's this one scene. Never mind. Look, let's read Charlotte's Web, and everybody'll be at peace, and we'll all be fine. Yeah, spiders are good people. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a wolf spider stare me down one time. I was at 4-H camp back when I was like a little young buck, and the damn thing looked at me, and I was like, "What the hell?" I thought it was going to jump on me, and then I backed away slowly. You know, it was archery class. I couldn't hit him with the arrow. I didn't have a shotgun. So, but yeah, it was a gray wolf spider. And the way their eyes are orientated on their body, it's like all 8 of them are looking at you at once. I'm like,
Yeah, it's
what?
crazy. They look scary as heck, and I said, "Do what?" And I screamed, and that's boy. You talking about when I stomped on her, and then all them other spiders running around? I was like really screaming then.
Like I said, let's read Charlotte's Web. You know, you're a good pig. You know,
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming, and you can come anytime you like, and come on here and join and you know, join in and whatever.
Oh, thanks for having me up. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm weird. I say weird shit sometimes. So, it's just
But don't we always?
fair enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my,
you
my
take care.
son says, I know where I got my sense of humor from, Mom. I was like, yeah, sorry.
Well, mine's really kind of dry and dark, and I got it from my dad. So, yeah. Which mom was a nurse, so hers is kind of dark too. Because if you deal with death a lot as a nurse,
Um,
you just got to kind of laugh at it or cry about it. Now, which would you
right,
rather?
exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what took place across the street last night, and I've been trying to keep a watch and an ear out. I don't know whether because there were like four police cars. Well, one of them was three police cars, and one was the SUV, so kind of like the
Oh,
sheriff, whatever. And then the ambulance was there as well, and they were all there for over 45 minutes.
well, we call the SUVs mini paddy wagons. Now, the big paddy wagon is like the SWAT team truck. So
Ah, okay.
things change, but a lot stay the same. But yeah.
Did over there also when you had the damage from Hurricane Helene? Did you have was any of your roads out or anything like that messed up?
Oh yes. Hey, look, the day after, while it was still raining, I was out of like cigars and food, and I tried to go out. No, there was no way to get to a highway. There were trees down everywhere. There were power lines down everywhere. It was a disaster. It really was. FEMA come by and everything. So,
They didn't stop and help though, did he?
did what now?
Did they stop and help y'all?
Oh yeah, they did what they could. I mean, it was bad. It was beyond bad. I had never seen anything like it in my whole 20 years being up here. So,
Right.
but like I said, if Helene had pulled through, yeah, cigars before food. Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm laughing at.
Yeah, cigars and water, which I had water. I could get water. But if Helene had happened and tore all that down first before we had the ice storm back in January, it would have been a whole lot worse and a whole lot colder
Yeah.
without power. Yeah. So,
No, my pedophile actually lives in an apartment. It's a couple doors down from me.
well, I mean, they say God works in mysterious ways. Well, yeah. Sometimes you got to have a disaster before you can have the rebuilding of it. Yeah.
Got that right. And the weird thing is, that they had moved, him from another apartment building to elsewhere in town because he was trying to talk to a lady and do something about her kid. And then he moved her over here with us, where it's mostly elderlies here, but still don't give him a right to be sexually exploited. He's not just a pedophile, but he's a predator. And he said some very demeaning things to me. And they go, well, y'all just avoid each other. And I'm like, he should have never still said some of the things he said, that's really inappropriate about what he thinks he's going to do to me.
Well, what I really wonder is how these people get into that twisted ass mindset that this is okay. This is being a good person. No, it's not. You're
Oh, and
twisted.
this person's so mental, you just gotta overlook it. And then the next time they go like this and they rape or kill somebody, somebody else, and they're not listening to you and on the talking about doing these sexual bad things to you, and they do. Oh, you just got to avoid the guy. Like, excuse me, don't you have it in our lease that anything sexual, you're not supposed to be having somebody over here if they're, a threat, a danger sexually to you.
Well, I mean, and you're right. There should be something done, but there isn't, and I don't know why.
Exactly. And it's like no matter what, people don't believe because it's like, hey, yeah, I called the police many times. Well, several times, like when I was married, and the police did come when I was a kid, and but they did nothing. It's like, what do you do when you have tried to call the police and they don't do nothing but end up blaming you?
Well, I mean, and I get it because I've had family in law enforcement. Without evidence, you really can't do anything. If there's no like actual physical evidence, that they really can't arrest anybody.
Yeah, and he actually did happen to say some of this stuff to other people to me in front of a couple other people. So yeah, I had proof there. And he actually went to a vehicle where I was at a date site, and he actually went to the car, and I didn't even I was in my apartment. I was sick that day, and it's like, good. What are y'all doing in there? I bet y'all were having sex. It's first. No, we met. We didn't do nothing. Watch movies. Sometimes I like watch I Am Gabriel and other things like that. Just having a nice dinner. That's it. And it don't matter. It's none of his business what I do at my apartment anyway. But he actually went out to the guy's car and said, "Don't come back. She's mine."
I mean, cops are people too. Some
But he
get
ain't
it.
a cop. He's a predator. Is what I'm saying. That's a
Oh,
predator.
okay.
But the thing about it is, I did tell the people about it. That's over where I live, and they said, "Well, this is the first time we heard about it." I told them about it again the second time when had to sign back in January. Oh, this is the first time I heard about it. I'm like, really? They said just avoid each other. And I said, that's what I've been trying to do. Now my car's all keyed up and everything else too.
Oh, fuck.
Yep.
You could sue him for that. I
Yeah,
mean,
but I couldn't sue him because I didn't see him actually do it.
okay.
So, but that's what would be so bad about it. But when he retaliates against me, he does stupid stuff like that. Quit trying. Every time, like when I like go to karaoke and I come back in, he's in the other neighbor's apartment, and sometimes it's like 12 o'clock, and then I make it in on my porch, and I'm unlocking my door. Then he decides to go home every time, right? Whenever, no telling, it don't matter what time it is. Then he's going back out to his apartment, like you're gonna look at me too. No, I don't, because there ain't nowhere to really put him out there because it's like government apartments, and we'll be in trouble putting them. Yeah, I love to sing. So yeah, I have to watch out when I go somewhere when I come back, and just because I have to watch out for a predator.
Well, I mean, accidents happen. If you catch my drift.
Thank you so much. You're watching my John Bonet videos. Who's put on the video? Oh, okay. He's putting on the video about Black Dahlia.
I don't know. You said Delphi, and I thought that was the Black Dahlia movie. But I don't know. I've like I said, I had a girlfriend way back when that read all about that stuff, so it gets kind of jumbled up in my noggin sometimes. So, it does. But yeah, some people need to have accidents to teach them lessons, and if they don't learn the lesson when they have the first accident, The second accident would end the problem, in
I
my
got,
opinion.
I got to remember who the guy's name is again. When he sends out the invite tonight. I had start following him last night in uh, what's that girl's name? Southern Gal True Crime, and he's one of his friends. Did the Delphi cases, and him and his wife neither's with us anymore. Um, yeah, yeah, it was somebody in her group that gonna do a live tonight on the. He unalived his wife and he unalived himself, and he was big here at YouTube and um, about the Delphi murders. The friend said he was one of the best on the Delphis here at YouTube. So did y'all hear about that?
Um, Way back when.
The guy that unalived himself recently.
Well, I mean, like I said, my girlfriend read
Facebook
a bunch of that.
creators that unalived himself and his wife.
I get confused. Yeah, like I said, my girlfriend read a bunch of that stuff. So yeah, they all get kind of jumped up. I remember the Gainesville, Florida killer
Uh-huh.
because they never caught that person, whoever it was, man, woman, whatever. They don't know. It was kind of like the Son of Sam, except on the East Coast. He would go to like parking places and
Right.
kill people that were making out. Yeah, it was, and they never caught him.
Right. Let me see if I can find if my other friend is online. Let's see. Hi, if you could tell me. I'll try to, if I remember. Did Black Dahlia? I don't know if that's the person's name, right? I don't know what the person's name is. I just know that he unalived himself and unalived his wife, and so he's going
Yeah,
to have it on there.
yeah, he like chopped her up or something and left her with the flower. Yeah, a black dog. I don't know. I don't know the specifics of that one. Like I said, I've heard a lot of stuff.
There was a recent one where he had, I think he was in a bad way recently. And so my friend's like, if anybody's got something going on, make sure you ask for help and you get help, before you go to this extreme.
Oh yeah, at least find somebody you can talk to.
Exactly. If it does wear on and tear on you, because I got a lot of people that constantly say, "Can you do this? Can you do this?" And I'm like, I got to take some me time. And sometimes, if you don't take some you time away from these, it
Oh,
will
that,
depress the heck out of you, and it will put you in some kind of weird moods.
yeah. Hey, there's
Especially taking it from survivors.
well, yeah, and there's only 24 hours in a day, and I've got to have a few of those for me. Yeah.
Exactly. And mine's more than a few things since I, getting out about my third book out there and stuff. You got some videos, Cash, that are pretty. Oh man, he makes me laugh. I guess you noticed that, right? Clockwork.
Yeah. But look, you've tried to end this 4 times already, I think. So yeah, it's been 2 hours and 10 minutes, and yeah, is somebody else going live?
I'm not sure. Cash, are you going live? You said not true crime.
Fair enough.
I want to thank everybody for coming in today and helping out, and thoughts and prayers with us all to keep us going and making the right decisions. And God bless you all. Will you behave yourself? Not going live, eh? Okay.
Fair enough. Hey,
Thank
look,
you so much, Clockwork. You're welcome anytime. Okay, buddy?
thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay. If you write in a thing, I'll be able to put you on as a mod too if you wanted me to.
I don't need a wrench. I just usually hit people with it. So yeah, everybody. You don't have to give me
Okay.
a
But I trust you, man.
Well, I mean, I heard what you were talking about, and I've been there and seen it, and I try to help the best I can, but sometimes I'll fall short because we're just people. We're people doing
Exactly.
the best we can. So
Exactly. And if anybody's ever got a problem, they need to come to me and not, go behind my back or whatever. So that's the best way to be.
yeah,
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I'll see you around soon, okay? God bless you all. Bye-bye.